Car accessories can make a whole world of difference to the way you transport certain things that you might not ordinarily take with your car. Take a bike, for instance. You might have to put it inside your car ordinarily, but a set of roof bars and a roof rack can make a whole lot of difference to the way that you travel with your bicycle. One of the best ways of transporting it is to put it on the roof, but for that you need a roof rack and you need a cycle rack. But how do you fit both of those, and is it worth doing in the first place? Well, that's what we're going to find out. So let's put this bike on that car and let's find out how to do it. Now, lots of modern cars come with these roof rails fitted as standard, and they provide a really solid basis for the racking system that you're about to put on it. Now, of course, not all cars have these, and not all cars need these in order to fit a rack. So what you can do is check online to see if your car is suitable for a roof rack, which fits within the doors instead. And in that instance, you won't need these rails. But for this car, we do have them, so this is where we're going to start. No, don't worry, this isn't a car that's sunk. These are the roof bars, which are fixed to those rails that we just looked at. These go across the vehicle and provide that basis for all of your extra features. So for this instance, we're going to be mounting a cycle rack on top of these bars. Now what we're going to look at next is how you affix these to the roof of the vehicle. Lots of manufacturers offer these for their particular vehicles. So for instance, with Skoda, you'll be able to look through their accessories and you can see these bars which fit their specific cars. They'll always be supplied with keys as well, which allows you to lock the boxes at either end and make sure they're safe and secure on top of your vehicle. If you're buying them second-hand, then make sure that they do fit your car and make sure that you get those keys as well, because they're really important when it comes to security. Step 3 involves fitting the crossbars to your roof rails. Now, each different type of manufacturer and each different type of rail has a different fitment system, but both work around clamping two sections onto the roof rail and providing a firm and stable basis for what you're going to put on top of them. These ones in particular use that clamp setup, but they actually use the caps themselves as a way of levering on to the roof rails. So what you have to do is make sure first off that your roof rails are nice and clean, there's no debris in there are no leaves, because that will affect how much pressure you're able to put between the clamp at the bottom and the roof rails themselves. So make sure they're all nice and clean. Make sure you've got a nice clean area to work with too. Now, each roof bar is designated for the front or the rear, and most have labels inside these caps which show you which one is which, and it's quite important because they're different lengths and they just won't fit if you aren't putting them in the right places. Next, fit them to the right section of the car and put them in place so that you've got a good amount of traction between the roof rails and the clamps, and you've got a nice straight line between each section too. Once they're in place, these ones in particular use these caps here. You fit them on top, and then you use that to then lever the clamp onto the car, and you've got a nice stable basis too. Do that for all four corners and make sure it's nice and square, and also consult your manufacturer as to how much space you need to leave in between the bars themselves and how much space you need to leave between the front of the car and the front bar too. Step 4 is, well, it's just to be patient with it really. You can't force these things, and after all, you are putting something on the roof of your car, so you want to make sure that it's on there properly. So don't try and force anything onto it. Don't try and push anything if it doesn't feel quite right. Take your time, measure it all out, and once you've got it fitted, it will fit quite easily, which is why making sure that you don't force it and you just keep a bit of patience in mind will make the whole process a whole lot easier. Right, now that we've got a stable platform, we can fit our cycle rack. And this one in particular works by fitting the cycle rack itself to these grooves, which then clamps into place again. So what we need to do first is remove these end caps, which allows us to access those grooves. Now, when we take our cycle rack, what you can see under here is it has these clamp bolts and these base plate pieces here. And what they do is run into these grooves and then allows you to clamp it properly together. So here we have those locking points. You can press these and that's really secure. And that's something you have to make sure of, because of course when mounting things to your roof of your car, you are liable if anything falls off. So it really is best to check twice in this instance and make sure that everything is really safe. Now we come to the final part of the process, and that's putting the bike onto your newly fixed bike rack. Now, if you have a mountain bike, you might want a little bit of help with this part because they tend to be a little bit heavier and you might need a little bit of extra assistance to put the bike onto the roof. But fortunately, we've got a nice light road back today, so we don't have to worry too much about it. Now, as you can see, There's a section for the front wheel at the front and a section for a rear wheel at the back. Both wheels should fit in nice and neatly here, and then you can attach them via ratchet straps. But what we want to do first to be able to hold the bike in place is fit this cross section here. So what that does is clamp the bar, clamp the main part of the frame here, and you can crank it in to hold the bike nice and tightly in place. Now what you want to be really careful of is to make sure that you check with your bicycle manufacturer whether or not a carbon frame can be used on the particular racking system that you're going to be used. Now this is a carbon frame, and we're just being really careful to make sure that we put a certain amount of pressure but not anything more, because you don't want to damage that carbon. As long as it's got a nice firm grasp of the frame, then you should be okay. Then what you can do is attach these sections here, which go on like ratchet straps. So they attach to this section here, and you just crank them up, and then you're nice and tight with your wheel and tyre against this locking point. And finally, just remember, you've got that extra height on top of your car. So don't go in any multi-storey car parks or underneath any low bridges without checking your overall height first. So there we have it, a road bike affixed to a stable roof rack on top of a car in a safe and secure manner. Now, of course, it's always worth referring to your car handbook and the bicycle manufacturer if you do have any extra questions. And again, take your time with this process. It's best to take a little bit more time at the start than find out midway through your journey that you've fixed something incorrectly and you're having a much larger problem. But thank you for watching this how-to video, and please remember to subscribe to the motors.co.uk YouTube channel, hitting that bell icon so you're notified each and every time we upload a new video. And speaking of new videos, if you have enjoyed this how-to, we have some other how-to videos that you'll be able to follow the links coming up next.